right, out here with Lexi, and we're going to do some condition relaxation with her. Even though it's a little bit more of an advanced skill, she already has a pressure cue for down. So we'll go ahead and kind of see where we can get with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put that slight downwards pressure towards the ground. Good. I'm going to release it anytime I feel like her body's kind of starting to yield. Good. Or not like actively pulling against that tension. And even though she has a very nice verbal down, part of this exercise is getting our dogs to learn how to yield to gentle amounts of pressure. So one of the goals of this exercise is to introduce light, gentle, but insistent physical pressure, because at some point our dogs are going to have to cope with gentle restraint with the vet, at the groomer, etc. And just in like everyday situations where we may need to kind of physically manipulate her, pick her up or hold her or restrain her for some reason or another. It also gives us the opportunity to practice settling. So I'm going to kind of discourage her from chewing on that piece of the leash there. I'm going to release the pressure as soon as she starts to move down towards the floor. And I just want to make sure that I'm using like, no thank you. Good. Fingertip pressure. So enough to where she just feels that pressure. It should be going towards the way that I want her to yield. So if she were to yield to that pressure, her body's going to move towards the floor. So that's where the pressure wants to be kind of angled. Good. So she just learned this pressure cue. So I may need to just start off with getting some success there. And I'm going to go ahead and release her here. Okay. You can tell in that rep where she I feel like she had the answer. She just didn't. No, thank you. She didn't love the way we were asking. And obviously right now you can see she's chewing on the leash. She's frustrated a little bit. So that's a really important thing to kind of be aware of. No, thanks. To use the leash or her collar to reinforce no means actually stop that. So again, all of this chewing on the leash and moving away from me and turning her back a little bit kind of tells me she's not into it. That doesn't mean that we are going to not practice it. I just want to make sure that I even this out a little bit with something fun on the other end. But I also want to make sure that I'm not breaking out of condition relaxation immediately into something like high paced and super exciting. So she obviously is angled over towards the toys that are over there. She's crying. So we are going to do a little bit of this first. So I don't think she's quite ready for the next steps of condition relaxation yet, where we're having her get onto her side and starting the massaging. We're just going to work on just getting her to yield to that pressure down. And the other thing I'll point out is I'm not using food, which also kind of can bum the situation out, right? But it is important as well. So what she'll start to learn in this process is that even though I'm not reinforcing, nice big cry there. Oh, it's puppy torture. Even though I'm not reinforcing her with food, I'm still going to actually reinforce her by letting her have some freedom and liberty in the room. Good. So when I put this pressure on, I want to make sure that I think of like an anchor dropping out of my hand. So if I'm going to put the pressure on right here, even if she starts to move around and move away, I want to make sure that my hand stays right here where I dropped that anchor. So I'm gonna, scratching is another sign of frustration. So that kind of tells me that this will be a very helpful and important skill to incorporate into her lifestyle right now. So she's fresh out of the crate after a little bit of a rest period after playing kind of all morning, basically. And she's ready to go again. So this could be a little bit of a tough ask, but eventually, and I think honestly, it's not that hard. I think it's actually a great kind of spot. And eventually this is where we would want her to work, kind of in that zone where she's actually, I don't really want to choose to get calm and settled right now, especially when you're not using food to lure me or guide me there. All of the things that are motivating to me right now are definitely not in this bubble with you. So I need to find a way to make sure that I'm building value and doing this kind of thing that she does not want to do by releasing her to the things that she'd rather do in that moment. And the more situations we can set up in life in general, this way, the more value she's going to put into cooperating with me in difficult times. So I want her to choose me over the squirrel wearing the pizza hat and the sombrero and the flaming maracas. All right, so I'm gonna reel her in here. She's having a little bit of a puppy tantrum. So I'm putting pressure on towards me just enough to where she feels it and in the direction of where I want her to go. So I want her to come towards me, so it's kind of angled right towards my belly button. I'm gonna put that pressure on and it's gonna go on and stay on until I feel her starting to yield. And I can basically release the pressure. Oops, no, and I just don't, I wanna make sure she's not chewing on it. I'm gonna release the pressure the second I think she's even thinking about making the right choice. And if she does not comply and it doesn't happen, I can just reapply it. Reapply the pressure. Great. Good girl. All right, so all I want to get out of her right now is that pressure. So I'm putting that slight pressure down. My anchor has dropped. If she chooses to kind of move away and add more pressure on by moving away from this spot, that's kind of on her. But I'm not going to increase the pressure no matter how much time goes on. So pressure goes on and stays on. Oops, and I released it momentarily just there because she moved, which was better than just kind of being stuck. But then she started to walk away, so now I'm reapplying it. And again, if you look at her body language right now, it's like puppy middle fingers. Like she hates this, and that's okay. So that pressure's still on. And if I truly thought she didn't have the answer, I could kind of help her out and go do what we call going back to kindergarten, which is reshaping this behavior and maybe even using food. But I do think she understands this pressure down. Hello. She's a little bit distracted now because there's things moving around in the room. Good. I released it for just a hot second right there. Reapplying it right now. I'm going to take it off for a second because she was shuffling, but she's shuffling because she wants to get away, so I'm reapplying. Good. I'm going to release it for a hot second there because she sat, but I want that down. And actually, I'm going to cheat because she's a puppy, and I'm going to turn her body and reset her here. Good, because it's not helpful if she's facing all the way that way. Good. So this is the part that's really, this is important because I'm at a choice point here. I'm at a point where she might be because things in the environment have changed, she might be too invested and too over threshold because she's a baby. I need to make sure that I'm very conscious of where her threshold is for learning. And we're very, very close to that point where she's not going to have a good training session if we kind of push it too far. So I'm applying that downwards pressure. I'm letting it go right there because it looked like she was thinking about doing it. I'm gonna give her a second. I'm gonna reapply the pressure. Less is more. So I'm gonna really make sure I'm using fingertip pressure. It's very, very tempting for the human end of the leash in these moments. I see good, I'm releasing it there. Oh, good. So it really is a battle of the wills right now. But I do not want to pull harder. If I think, oh, she's just ignoring this, I'm gonna pull harder so we can cut through the noise. I don't want to do that. I want to teach her that ignoring even this teeny tiny amount of pressure is never going to make it change or go away. So we're if she gets up and totally walks away, I'm going to kind of reset and turn her around here just because we can do that and she's a puppy. Good. Good. Okay. Perfect. Ideally, I don't want her to run completely away from me. I'm going to go get this toy that she's so obsessed to get to, which is really a scrap of a toy. But sometimes that's even better, right? When they're all torn apart. Perfect. All right, that was a tough session, huh? So this is good. I'm gonna let her be engaged with this for a moment. She's got a nice tug game. I think we talked about that a little bit. Right now for her tug game, I just wanna make sure she is a little bit what we call like re-grippy. Yeah, she's like got me in a arm lock. She likes competitive physical play. So with her baby teeth, with Tug, I'm just making sure that we're not at risk at damaging any of those teeth. One just actually popped out, not because she's doing this incorrectly. She's clearly teething. So you want it? All right, put that in my pocket, I guess. Oh, Perfect. So when we're playing, I just want to make sure like I can get my hands on it. I can take it from her. I also want to make sure that she's winning sometimes and she's bleeding a little bit, which would be expected when you lose a tooth. Oh, you won. You're so strong. I'm going to get it. Yeah, a little growling. That's all good. We want that type of play in this game, and then we can kind of put some boundaries and limitations on it to for it happening outside of this game. Perfect. So we're going to pick a word that we want to mean the game is now over. So I'm going to go ahead and collect her leash and get it out from this toy. I'm going to wait before, I don't want her to associate me grabbing this leash with the end of the game. So I'm just going to have her engage for a little bit longer. Good. And for right now, I want to avoid ending the game right after I take the toy from her. So I'm going to go, oh, she won. She's so strong. And now I'm going to say, Lexi, enough. And I'm going to use the leash to kind of back that up. I don't want to use the leash to prevent her from getting to that toy. I'm going to use the leash to take her off, but not to hold her back from the toy. That can actually build more motivation to get to it, especially with a dog that likes that physical challenge. Good girl. Good. Yeah, good job. That was tough, I know. So I just want to make sure she's going to be neutral to that for just a second. Enough. Good. Good girl. We're going to move that to the side. Good. Good job. We're going to do that really crappy exercise again. And I think I mentioned this already. Good. Just thinking about it, sort of. So she has a nice verbal down. But I want her to learn how to yield to physical pressure as well. Good. So I don't have any pressure on her right now because I do think she's going to follow through. Good. Okay. Ready? Oops. We will eventually teach her to have some more fluency with her markers with the game. Her general release word should release her to some toys eventually, but for this game, especially with how obviously motivated she is to play with it, which tells me she has high drive, we want to make sure that doesn't carry over into, chasing inappropriate things, etc. So I would like to have a very clear start of the game word. So for her, and this will be later because she's a little bit too young to have this much obedience just yet, but eventually with this game, we would want to have her have a release word to calm liberty. So we have a general release word like the word okay, which is for anything is on the table. That means you are free to make your own choices and decide which window of opportunity you're going to be in. But for a dog like her, and this is what I do with my dog as well, because his window of opportunity or what he might release himself to would be a human-shaped target if he's trained to bite. So not that that's what's going on with her, but we don't want her to release herself to going to chase an animal or a duck or whatever. So we have a release word that means you can break out of that position I've put in you, like if you were holding place, sit down, etc., or heel, whatever. But you cannot engage in a high drive activity. So I say something like break for my dog. That means you can come out of that down or sit, but you can't go bite anything. So that might be a really good, and we teach that through obviously setups. But we can talk about that later. Oh, good job. Oh, you're so strong. Give me that. Headlock. Oh, leg sweep. Bah. Leg sweep. Yes, good girl. All right, so we're going to do this one more time, and we should see a quicker response here. So this isn't technically conditioned relaxation anymore. She's just doing some obedience outside of this open window. Eventually we can ask for a little bit more and actually get her to become neutral to the toy. So what's most likely going to happen once we close this window and we ask her to get into that DOWN, she's going to assume that position, but she's not going to necessarily, she's going to be waiting for me to release her to that toy. For right now, that's perfect. That's fine. As long as we get the obedience part, the rest of it can come later. All right. she likes to, she's chewing, which makes sense if she's teething. So hopefully we've got some stuff at home. And just a note real quick, not to tangent too much, but a teething puppy is going to be very aggressive. And that doesn't mean she's an aggressive dog. She is going to have all kinds of hormones and all kinds of stuff going on that causes the teeth to, to fall out and stuff. So natural aggression, an uptick in that kind of behavior is going to be supernatural. Lots more time having her like chew on something appropriate. Frozen, like something like this that's wet and then frozen, super great. Obviously watch her, make sure she's not ingesting it. Good girl. So if you're worried about resource guarding, I know I'm jumping around a little bit. I just noticed when I went to reach for it, she growled. That's natural. I wouldn't punish that at all. What I would do is I grab it and then I let you have it if I'm worried about her being possessive. So if I'm worried about her resource guarding, sometimes I grab it and then I let you have it. All right, I'm never gonna grab it, take it away, and then that ends the game. That's what causes resource guarding. So I'm gonna reel up my leash here. I'm gonna make sure her little foot's out of the way. Perfect. And we're gonna say, Lexi, enough. I'm gonna give her like a second and a half to comply. She is not. I'm gonna use a little slight upwards pressure and maybe even get my foot in there and really boot her off that thing. Good. Again, I don't want to pull her back from that. Good. Enough. Good. So with enough, and when we start really challenging her with it, I'm basically going to allow her to bite the toy and then fix it. So I don't want to, good girl, I don't want to use the leash to hold her back from it. That will build more drive to get her to want that we actually use that in bite work and protection sports when we want the dog to really build some aggressive drive. Good. Come away. All right, one more time. Good. We'll like hold the dog back, and the dog, it's like the drunk guy at the bar that wants to get to the other guy. It's kind of the same principle. All right, so slight downwards pressure. And I'm not worried about how fast she responds. I'm worried about her, good. Thinking about her options right now. She's like, what if I choose to ignore it? Or I go to the sandy beach in my puppy head. Good yawn. She's like, you can tell she's weighing out her options. And this is our opportunity for us to extinguish the option of ignoring it. She's like, I'm gonna try walking away. I'm gonna try ignoring it. So I'm gonna reset her here a little bit. Good. Good. She's looking at me like I'm the meanest person in the whole wide world. So she's like, I'll do a little bit fine. Like, but then she's like, I'm gonna, I'm gonna see what, and that's super, sometimes that can be frustrating for some people, like when you have a dog or a kid even, that's like, I wonder, like, they're very self-serving. They're like, I wonder, like, what I can get away with. I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try it, and I'm going to try it, just to make sure that things are consistent. Eventually, that's a very awesome trait, but sometimes that can be trying. Good girl. Okay. Perfect. All right, so she's doing really great. She's not quite ready for like, she's getting some water. Not quite ready for like the other steps. And we kind of divulged from what we originally hatched as our training plan. But I think this was really helpful for her. Now that I know that she's, the teeth are falling out of her head, I would have wanted to have a training session that has a much gentler criteria in terms of expectations. Because that's a really hard time for a puppy to, teething is a lot, and we take it for granted. But they're really dealing with a lot in that moment. So if I didn't say this already, just make sure, like, she might need a little extra crate time if she's getting a little bit gnarly. Make sure that when she comes out, that she gets something to chew on. She poops, she pees, she plays, and then she might need to go back in the crate for a little bit. Just they need extra rest and they get a little bit more gnarly at this point. So she's doing great. Good job, Lexi.